the one period of time that stands out most to me is my whole sophomore year in college. In order to become a biology major, I had to take 3/4 of what was called the bio core, basically the fundamentals of all the branches of biology. And the problem was I had never really taken a real biology class. I think I took biology in 9th grade, but honestly, it was a bit of a joke. So when I found myself in a huge lecture hall with 300 other competitive pre-med students and biology students, it was quite a shock and quite an adjustment. I remember feeling so lost during a lot of the lectures. Like I was fascinated by the novelty and the complexity and the newness of everything that I was learning, but half of it might as well have been in a different language because half of it was completely unintelligible to me. I really did my best to study and to learn, and I put in my best effort. But the embarrassing truth is that I got 2 Ds and an F in those classes. I'm not kidding. 2 Ds and an F. That's my embarrassing past. But at that point, I really think that most people would have given up and just picked another major. But if I had gone to a pre-med advisor at the time, I really think that they would have told me, sweetie, just pick another major. Like, don't make yourself miserable. So long story short, I ended up retaking all 3 of those classes my junior year in college and doing much better. I should also add that those 2 years were full of all sorts of hard feelings. I became depressed my sophomore year, partly because I felt like such a failure. But something inside of me, like I mentioned, also knew that if I just kept going, somehow, someday, I could reach my goal. If you have recently or are currently struggling with the hard feelings that come with failure or rejection, please, please know that you're not alone. Everyone faces these things at some point in their lives. Most of us way more than once. These are universal human experiences, but that does not make them easy. So we have 3 basic tips for you today. Tip number 1, give yourself permission to feel what you feel. This might sound a little funny to some of you, but let me explain. Facing failure or rejection is hard, and it's okay to wallow in self-pity or sadness or anger for a little while. Negative emotions need a release valve, so go ahead and make a healthy space for them in whatever way works for you. This could be letting yourself cry in private or with a close friend or family member, yelling your anger into a pillow, blasting some music and singing along, or punching a punching bag until you're exhausted. Find a way to release the energy of your emotions in a safe way, preferably in a way, though, that doesn't hurt or scare other people. All right, tip number 2, learn to see failures as part of the process. While you're having all those hard feelings that we just talked about, we also want you to know that this is not the end. No matter how down or hopeless you feel at a certain time, this doesn't have to be the end of your journey. You have the power to choose whether it becomes just a hurdle along the way or the end of the road. All right, tip number 3, find the silver linings. Have you ever heard that phrase? It goes, every cloud has a silver lining. It means that every situation that we see as bad or negative may actually have a positive aspect to it. And this applies to a lot of the experiences with failure and rejection. When I think back to my sophomore year in college and how badly I failed at my first biology classes, I realized that as much as that experience totally sucked at the time, it also helped me to become a much stronger and a much more resilient person. It pushed me to the very brink of my abilities, and as a result, it expanded my abilities. If I had taken classes that were easy for me, like they had been in high school, I would not have grown personally as much from them.
Yeah, I recall I was in college and I wanted to study abroad in Spain. And there was an application process that you have to go through, and I applied and I didn't get selected. And I was so bummed and I felt like a failure because I had just had a friend that went and came and she got accepted her first time around. But then when I told her that I didn't get in and I didn't get selected, she said, just go ahead, try again next year, and then just bring your grades up higher. Well, sure enough, I applied the following year. And let me tell you, I got accepted and I met the most amazing friends that semester while I was in Spain in the cohort that I was with. And one of them was actually applying to medical school the following year, and she was pursuing medicine. And she was also Latina like myself. Well, guess who was one of my mentors during the medical school application process?
Uh-huh.
It was my friend that I met that specific year that I went to Spain. And
Uh-huh.
she was the one that helped guide me when I had questions about the MCAT, applying, because I actually wasn't going to apply with my MCAT score. And she's the one that said, no, just do it, go for it. So she was my cheerleader. So,
Aw.
when I think about it, if I would have gone the year prior, I wouldn't have met her. And until today, we are still very close friends. We know each other's families, and hopefully she'll be on our podcast